Good morning, students. Today we will discuss about lesson number 14, Introduction to JavaScript. So in previous lessons we learnt HTML, CSS. So HTML is hypertext markup language and CSS is cascading style sheet. So that we discussed in lesson number 13. So now we are going to discuss about JavaScript. So the main usage of JavaScript is, and initially JavaScript's name was LiveScript. So when JavaScript was created, the initial name it was given as LiveScript, and it was first released in 1996. JavaScript engines were originally used only in web browsers, but later on all the components of some servers and a variety of applications, and now it is used for server purpose. And there are at least three great things about JavaScript. They are the full integration with HTML and CSS, that is we can add JavaScript within HTML program and CSS program, and simple things are done simply, supported by all major browsers and enabled by default. So JavaScript is often abbreviated as JS, and it is a programming language that is one of the core technologies of World Wide Web. Alongside HTML and CSS, over 97% of websites use JavaScript on the client side for web page behavior, often incorporating third-party libraries. Today, JavaScript has a unique position as the most widely adopted browser language, fully integrated with HTML and CSS. Okay, so the main purpose of having this JavaScript is you can create, and before seeing JavaScript, the purpose of HTML and CSS is to develop a web page, right? So in web page you already know there are two types of web pages. One is static web page and another one is dynamic web page. So static web page is nothing but it is used to view the web pages without any interactions by the user. Okay, and that is not at all connected with the server, and you can't interact with the static web page. You can just see the information, you can note it, and just you can close the web page. But in a dynamic web page, what happens is the user has interaction between the web page. See, for example, if you are downloading a form, okay, for if you are going to open a Gmail account, the first thing what you should do is you should create a new account, right? So once you create a new account, you will get a form, and in that form you will have several details such as name, gender, date of birth. You have several fields like that. Okay, so there you have some interaction between your form as well as yourself. Okay, and when the form is completed, last thing you will have sign in or create or something like that. So once that button is clicked, all your details will move to the server and it is stored in the server. Okay, so for this purpose, for making an interactive web page or for making a dynamic web page, JavaScript language is being used. Okay, so that is the main purpose of using JavaScript page, JavaScript. It is to develop interactive web pages, that is called as dynamic web page. So this is the main use. So on December 4, 1995, the Netscape and Sun Incorporation jointly introduced JavaScript 1.0. So in simple words, HTML and the more complex common gateway interface programs on the server. Okay, it is used to bridge the gap between HTML and the common gateway interface. So this JavaScript is being used. It provides a common scripting language for web developers to design test and deploy internet application. So the JavaScript client-side technology provides many advantages over traditional CGI. For example, JavaScript code can be used to check if the user has entered a valid email address in the form field. So now they are given an example, you can see it. So it is used to check if the user has entered a valid email address in the form field. Okay. So the JavaScript code is executed when the user clicks the submit button in the form. So as I said, when you are creating a when you are uploading a form, okay, so in that scenario, so this JavaScript works at the background. So once the submit form button is in the form, and only if all the entries are valid, they would be submitted to the web server. So once when you are entering a username, it will give you a suggestion, right? So your username should be of 20 characters long, or if you are entering a password, it will give you a suggestion that your password should not start with an underscore, or your password should be of minimum of 8 characters long. So like that it will give you some suggestions, right? So all these have been coded by JavaScript, so that the server is giving you a prompt, okay, that this field requires this much of characters, this many number of characters inside it. So all this has been coded in JavaScript. Okay, so it is being validated. So all your username, all your passwords, all your entries, all the fields are being verified by making use of this JavaScript programming language, because this would be submitted to the server. So the main advantages of using JavaScript programming language is it is used to develop interactive pages, which is called as dynamic web page, and then the user entered data in the dynamic web page can be validated before sending it to the server, so that the server's workload is being reduced in your web browser, in your client side itself. Okay, so in your client side itself, you are verifying the fields quantity and fields required data, so that the server's traffic would be less. JavaScript includes such items as text box, buttons, drag and drop components, sliders, and it gives you some rich interface to the site visitors. For example, creating a new email account in any service provider. So if you are creating a new mail account, you can see all these boxes, text boxes, and we have discussed this earlier itself in HTML. In forms we have discussed. So you have text box, list box, radio button, check box, drop down box. So like that we have discussed. So how to use JavaScript in HTML pages? By making use of this script tag. Okay, so this script tag is used for inserting JavaScript inside your HTML program. So this can be placed anywhere in your web page, but normally it is kept inside head tag. Okay, this is a one more question. So it can be placed anywhere, but normally it is recommended that your script tag should be placed inside head tag. So now we will see the general syntax for this script tag. So script language is equal to JavaScript, and type is equal to text/JavaScript, and in between you should write the JavaScript code and close the JavaScript tag. Okay. So what are the steps to follow to code a JavaScript is, you should enter HTML and JavaScript code using any text editor, save the latest version of this code, use any browser to see the result, for example Internet Explorer, Google Chrome, etc. If it is a new document, you should click the open menu from the file, open option from the file menu, or if it is already loaded and if you want to recorrect it, you should just press the refresh or F5 button. So it is all similar to your HTML file. So how you would see your HTML file in your web browser, and how will you make corrections in your text file? So it is very similar to your HTML file. So how you would enter your code in your text editor, and how will you save with the extension, and then how will you open with an browser, and then how will you refresh it once after doing some corrections or doing some modifications inside your source file. So everything is same here. So this is a sample program for your JavaScript. So here inside HTML program they have embedded this script tag, okay, and inside the head tag they have introduced the script tag, right? So see here title, so this all are same as HTML. So here they have started the script language as JavaScript within double quotes, and type is equal to text/JavaScript. So here is the code. So document dot write. So it is similar to your print statement. Okay, so print hello world. So here instead of print in JavaScript you should write document dot write within brackets the content which should be displayed. Okay. So see here the title, my first JavaScript program is here, my first Java program, and here whatever you do in the inside the script language or inside the script tag, all the document dot write will be displayed in the white area. Okay, so hello world is displayed here. Then lexical structure of a JavaScript program. So what is lexical structure is, it is a set of elementary rules that specifies how to write a program in the language. So it is the lowest level syntax of language. The lexical structure specifies variable name. You can underline this. It specifies variable name, delimiter character for comments, and how one program statement is separated from the text. So though JavaScript is a case sensitive language, so this is a case sensitive language. Okay, so case sensitive is, it has a difference between capital letters and small letter, and once you have declared it with a small letter, a variable name with a small letter, it should be called only by a small letter. But it is not the case in the HTML program. It is non-case sensitive language, so it accepts small letter, capital letter equally. Okay, so but this JavaScript is a case sensitive language, and it ignores space that appears between tokens, that is identifiers, operators, punctuators, constant, keywords, and all this we will discuss in the later classes. So it ignores spaces. Okay, JavaScript supports two style comments. So in comment you have two types of comments. This is used for single line comment, and this is used for multi-line comment, and this is always as in public exam question paper. So dash is used to create multi-line comments in JavaScript. So this is the answer, slash star star slash. Okay, so the purpose of comment line we will discuss later. So for as of now you have this comment line, single line comment is double slash, and multi-line comment is slash star and star slash. Then JavaScript uses the semicolon to separate the statements. Many JavaScript programmers use semicolon to explicitly mark the end of the statement. So here you can see in the program, if you have several set of statements, the last statement will be terminated with a semicolon. We will discuss it with an example. Okay, or once a variable has been declared, the end of the statement will be terminated by a semicolon. So that we will see with it with an example. See here, for example, here they are discussing variable. So variable number 1 comma number 2. Variables are have been separated by comma, and the last would be terminated. The line would be terminated with a semicolon. Okay. A literal is a data value for variable that appears directly in a program. So this is a 1 mark question. A dash is a data value for variable that appears directly in a program. An identifier is simply a name. So it may be a variable, a function, and to provide labels for certain loops in JavaScript code. In JavaScript, certain keywords are used as reserved word. These reserved words cannot be used as identifiers in the program. Okay, So in each and everything you have system reserved words. Okay, in JavaScript also you have certain reserved words, and those reserved words cannot be used, okay, as an identifier in the program. Those reserved words you cannot name the reserved words. You can't name a function, or you can't name a variable in the reserved words, as we discussed in creating a new folder. Okay, I hope you can understand or you can recollect it. When you are creating a new folder, you can't rename a folder in the name of system reserved words. You have certain system reserved words, right? So in those names and all, you can't rename a new folder. And then how to declare a variable. So variables are declared in JavaScript using var keyword. Underline this. So whenever you are going to declare a variable, in front of the variable you should have a keyword which is called as var, which means variable, that allocates storage space for new data and indicates that the interpreter that a new identifier is in use. Declaring a variable in JavaScript is as follows. So now I am going to declare a variable. So no is my variable. For example, if you can even have a, b, c, anything. Okay, so but you have to follow certain rules, and that rules we will discuss below this. So imagine now you are going to create a variable name as a. So in front of that variable name you should have the keyword called as var. So var, then variable name, var, then the variable name, multiple variable name. And if you are creating multiple variable names, you should separate it by comma, and the end of the statement should be terminated with a semicolon. Okay, and this is a 3-mark question. Rules for renaming naming a variable. A name should not start, a variable name should not start with a underscore. This is the first point. It should not start with a underscore. Then rest of the variable name can include any letter, any number, or the underscore. You can't use any other characters including spaces, symbols, and punctuation mark. Okay, so inside variable name you should not use other special characters, or you should not leave spaces in between, or you should not use any punctuation mark, question mark, exclamation mark, like that. JavaScript variable names are case sensitive. Okay, so case sensitive is nothing but register number. This is different from this. Okay, so here they have used initial capital letter. So this is if this is a variable name, and this would have been considered as another variable name. Okay, so this is entirely different from this. The name is same, register number same, but it is, since it is being case sensitive, this would have been considered as another variable, and this would have been considered as another variable. Then there is no limit to the length of the variable name. So you no need to worry about the length of the variable name. There is no limit. Then JavaScript reserved words cannot be used as a variable name. So these are the rules for naming variables, and this is a very important 3-mark question. So we'll stop here, and rest of the things we'll see in the next class. Thank you, children.